11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Hey, welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. Come to you live every midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific for about an hour each night. We talk about guns. We run it live on YouTube. We simulcast it over at gunchannels.com, where we're watching the conversation with the people that are watching the show live. When it's all over, we post it as a podcast over on the iTunes and the other podcast platforms. We appreciate people that participate with the show while it's going live or in the future. Got some people joining us as hosts. Clover just jumped in from Texas. Thanks for joining.
A bit. Thanks for the invite, G.
A pretty good show just a minute ago.
It was a mess, but it was fun.
It's kind of interesting. Kind of give it a change of pace. Cycle jumping in from Connecticut. Thanks for joining.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
God, what are we calling you again? Getting used to your name.
Steve.
Steve? And you're from... Where's he at? All right, he's muted. So then we got Smeggy.
Steve, unmute your mic.
Hey, how's everyone doing tonight? Man, I miss a little bit of time. You let amateurs in here.
Oh, yeah. And then I'm down here in Tucson. It's now just an open forum. There's no hosts anymore. Nobody's been joining. So it's just been an open room in the evenings. We haven't even had it every night. So, yeah, we're kind of getting used to a new format. I've been my nose in a 2A history project, so I haven't been putting much time into scheduling the show, so we've just been having sort of open conversations loosely based on our old schedule themes. Anyhow, we don't have anything, literally anything in the schedule tonight. We talk about training usually on Thursdays, so we could talk about training if you want. And we'll watch what's going on in the conversation out there, but Smeggy's been away, and
Well, I just had a couple things. I mean, I don't know, like, if you guys saw the thing that happened. I think it was earlier today. I don't want to necessarily dive super into it, but just to let people know that are watching or whatever. Bad guy went and shot some people at a restaurant. Good guy shot bad guy. So for anyone who says, it's self-defense, you're never going to use it, blah, blah, blah. There's a case where, a concealed carry person, was able to do something good. So I forget where it was. I don't even remember the details. I just remember that it's, I saw it somewhere.
I just saw that. It was in Oklahoma.
Oh, very foolish of that person.
Oh. So that's, I guess, as far as if we're talking training, then it's important. If you're going to be a concealed carry person, you should probably have some training in case, you got to protect other people. Because I'm not even sure if the good guy, if he was right in front of the bad guy, or if the bad guy was focusing on someone else and he got him from the side, or whatever. But sometimes that's the type of situation you find yourself in where you're protecting others, and you better well be trained for so you're not hitting innocent people and whatnot. I just think that's a responsibility that I'm sure all of us take seriously, but it's a good reminder.
Was it a single perpetrator?
I believe so. Like I said, I'm super
that's good.
Ignorant on the details.
Cool. Good job.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Hey, Gert.
What's going on? Thanks for the link, G-Wed.
Yeah, sure. So speaking of training, trying to think what all topics we've talked about. Yeah, so we've got a today. People that have been around the block, let's say, and we're watching the comments. Feel free to throw some questions out to the panel and a couple other people have links out there if they look on Gun Channel, and we'll just address those questions. Yes, for a bit. So, where do we want to go with training until we start getting the lag and we start getting some questions coming in?
You know, there. Oh, sorry, man. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I said I start. I'm actually if everything works out right, I'll be taking my first official training class in July. It's going to be a 2-day rifle class with what's this guy's name? Matt Jacquees. I think that's how you say it.
What do you mean official?
I mean, as far as like the gun industry type instructor guys. I've had military training. I do security. I've had all that training. I've trained under some pretty decent people, but nothing like a private course kind of thing.
Right on. Where it's not just like a tab or a credential on your.
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Well, it's not for work.
Yeah.
I've had a bunch of training for work. But and I think when it comes to like jobs, say Leo's military, armed security, or anything like that, paramedics, anything that has to do with training for work. I mean, I would assume that the atmosphere is different. The things you cover is different. There's different types of liability with contracts and things like that on, guidelines of what they're teaching and what they can't teach, because all of that stuff is governed by some type of legislation or some type of policy from whatever department is giving you the power to perform your duties. And with your private training, there's a guy, whatever their background may be, they've come up with some type of course of instruction and they're teaching you how to shoot or whatever the case may be. So, I'm looking forward to that. I hope this AC isn't too loud, but I'm looking forward to that. And, it's going to be a different experience.
Yeah, I would think some of the stuff that's like the mindset point of view is different from, if it's just your job versus you're just a person, protecting your own life type of thing. So hopefully you get some valuable knowledge from that.
You said this was long range, right?
Huh?
You said this was long range rifle shooting?
No. It's just carbine. It's not long range. It's carbine. I mean, I would have liked to take a handgun course to be my first kind of deal, but I can't find one that's popped up from someone who I would like to go see. I don't know this guy either. I've heard good things, but it just popped up, and I was like, okay, I have the leave. I have the time. I can do it. And even though I spent 8 years in the Army, rifles, I'm nowhere near as good as a rifle than I am with a handgun. Encompassing everything as far as like manipulations, reloads, everything encompassing. I'm a lot worse off with a rifle than I am with a handgun. So I guess it's kind of to my benefit. I carry a handgun every day.
When did you go to basic?
Jackson.
What year though?
09.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to have a bunch of like some old person and then somebody from my era and somebody from like I think maybe the 90s and then the 2000s and talk about basics. I'm wondering what's different about rifle and stuff. Must be a little different, right?
You say old person?
Yeah,
I would think as far as the military like doctrine goes is that, and from a lot of stuff that I've heard and about past, a lot hasn't really changed because it takes a lot in the military for them to start training their massive, basic training type.
Yeah, different.
Training. You know what I mean?
But it tweaks a little bit. Changes here and there, and then eventually it's totally different.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean,
So I've got questions. I've got through another plea for the audience to be part of this conversation. We can get together and have a conversation. You all can watch, or you can be part of it, and that's what the real goal is here. So ask questions, and we'll address them. But I wanted to take training in a different way. We've talked a bit about gunsmithing before as far as training. We've talked about training for other things besides just defense or that kind of thing. Maybe competition type of training where you learn just how to be quicker or how to do things differently for whatever they do differently for competition shooting. But has anyone ever seen something as far as training, maybe a correspondence course or something that you take out of place, but that it teaches you how to appraise, teaches you how to determine value of firearms? Because I'm thinking when we're living in a time when the greatest generation or whatever they're called is going to be passing on, and collections, are going to be moving along to the next gen, to their descendants. Some of those are going to be going out, and people are going to be curious about that. I'm wondering, have you guys seen anything that's like an appraisal or that kind of class that talks about the value of firearms or the investment value of firearms?
Well, I know that American Gunsmithing Institute actually has an appraiser's course. I do know that.
Okay, and that's like, is that what do they call that? Like a thing of study, or is that like just a course that you take in the general curriculum to pass a gunsmithing class?
Oh, I think it's its own. I think it's its own thing.
Like, because I would think it'd be a separate, like, what would that be, discipline or whatever? Like, a separate area of study, because it'd be.
Well, that's got to be like an art.
No, it's got. Well, no. Let's see.
Because
I would think if you got some type of like appraiser certificate or something, like if there was some type of, like you said, like a full course instead of just this is part of a thing I know, that would definitely make you a lot more attractive for, if you're finding a job at an auction house or at, a local gun store or whatever, like you're the official appraiser guy.
Or
like, you're the one who knows all the stuff.
Or like an apprentice thing or a clinic or a workshop or something at one of the auction houses, where they have the actual stuff and they are used to determining value.
I mean, I could see where you could teach somebody something like assessing the condition of a firearm, that it was the patina or the finish, and how much, looking for original parts and things like that. But the difficult part with trying to appraise firearms is that you have to really stay plugged into the availability of firearms and which things are drying up and which things are heating up. And that's an awful lot of work.
Now looking at the website here, I just pulled it up real quick. It is its own standalone course
from SDI.
From AGI.
Oh, AGI. Okay, that's California, the DVD-based stuff.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. It's $1,200. I know it's $1,297. Can't tell you that much.
Yeah, they've been around for a long, long time.
Seems expensive, but it goes through why you would need somebody that's certified, and like all of the different, from the IRS to bankruptcy courts to other things that accept their certification to the program. There's quite a bit of information here. Too much to try to read, of course, but yeah, it's its own curriculum.
Yeah, no, I've never seen anything like that. I always assumed that. I mean, I guess that kind of stuff would mostly pertain to someone who's a collector or someone who, has some type of keepsake or gun that's worth some money or is into that market, where they're trying to buy guns as an investment. I always just assumed that guys just did a whole bunch of research, you know what I mean, or asked around, or just paid attention to the market. Something. I mean, nowadays we got like Gun Broker, and if you go on the gear side of the house, a lot of stuff is like super rare, like guys building like clone rifles, or even a bunch of the airsofter kids are driving the gear second market, like the underground market for gear, sky high, because they seen some picture of some Navy SEAL wear, a Cry Precision shirt, and now the thing's worth 3 times as much, and the rarity, and because some of them items are hard to get. But with guns, yeah, I just always assumed people just paid attention to the market.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think happens, right? We have to depend on the kids that work at the auction houses or somebody that's just really into it and takes it on as a profession. But
Right.
if we're gonna, I'm thinking that there's probably some effort being done by like the NSSF or something to keep people interested in the investment side of firearms.
Well, this
Like I
says,
said, that seems like something for a career point of view. You would definitely, want to get some type of training on it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you just walk into an auction house and be like, I know how to use Gun Broker. They'd be like, yeah, that's great. We know how to do that too. It's the subtle things and like the really in-depth research that you have to know how to do. And I would assume they would talk a little bit about that as well in the class.
oh yeah, it goes through. I'm looking, and it goes through all of from your career opportunities to business models, I guess, to do your own business, to all of that stuff. It's 20 hours. Like I said, a little pricey. I guess not really pricey if you take into account, what it costs to go to college nowadays. I guess $1,300 isn't that bad, but yeah, it talks about how the IRS requires it, and if you're doing estates, which I mean, how many times you see estate sales with lots and lots of guns, right? And I mean, they have to have all that. It talks about how museums have to get stuff appraised that's coming into museums. It talks about divorce cases, bankruptcies, all these different things that require like a certified appraiser. So kind of gives you a rundown there on the website of, I guess, career opportunities or how to make money.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. It's
like that. Go check out the story of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Anytime you think you're too old. Any guesses how old Kentucky Fried Chicken guy Colonel Sanders was when he started franchising?
the way you say that, I'm guessing old.
Well, let me put it this way: you ain't never seen a young picture of him. He's always had that badass white beard. I mean, the white, wicked white hair and mustache and little goatee there.
Was he in like his 40s or something?
Oh, I think he was older than that.
Was he?
Do we want to go with this question on the side chat?
Which one?
Hold on. He was born in 1890.
Crap. He was 88. Yeah.
He was freaking old.
Born in 1890. He didn't sell the franchise. Well, he didn't open up his restaurant until 1952. So he was already 60-something years old when he opened up the restaurant, and he didn't franchise it until he was like really old. And it took him.
Wasn't that like his mother's or his grandmother's recipe or something?
Well, the concept of pressure cooking or whatever, I guess. Yeah. And that wasn't something that restaurants wanted to do or whatever. I think he tried to sell it something like 99 times, and on the 100th time, somebody actually went through. So it's an interesting story. I'm not selling it right, but anytime you're too old to do something, check out Colonel Sanders. He's a good.
But it's another Edison-like story. It was persistence and perseverance that carried him over today.
Sure, but I mean that's what made him ultimately successful. But he certainly didn't start when he was 26 and didn't become successful until he was 88. He didn't even start doing the chicken thing till late in his life.
Yeah, not some 18-year-old in his garage developing the first Apple II.
All right, so we did have a question come in from Potatoes. How practical do you think a suppressed AR is, or is it just a cool factor, knowing you usually still need ear protection with most barrel lengths and ammo?
Well, I got some of that. I mean, it's all relevant. I mean, if you want to use a suppressed AR for, say, home defense, property defense, whatever you want to suppress, you have to have that set up. So you have to think through all through your setup. So if you want something that's going to be 16 inches, and you want to use supersonic ammo, we're gonna need a huge freaking can. You know what I mean? If you find a good load of subs that that are pretty quiet through your can, then you're all right. But you have to match that barrel length with that can. You may need some type of gas regulation, whether it be a DI or piston gun. All kinds of stuff. You got blowback, so they make gas buster charger handles. They make and bolts that help you manage the gas and stuff like that. So I mean, saying that you will most likely need hearing protection. No, you can suppress 5.56 pretty easy. Now you may have a less capable round, yes, but that's your trade-off. If you don't want that flash, if you don't want that sound, your trade-offs are usually lethality of your rounds and extra pressure and gas blowback all in your face.
Well, subsonic 5.56 is not going to be very effective at all, and it's not going to cycle most likely, no matter what you do. That's sort of why blackout has come on the scene like it has, because it gives that opportunity of suppressibility. As far as cans, I mean, the biggest thing with that, the most noise you hear is that muzzle blast, and that's what you're going to do with a suppressor. Is you're going to drastically lessen that muzzle blast, regardless of if you're shooting supersonic or subsonic. So, the ones that I've shot supersonic would still be loud in an indoor situation. I think it probably wouldn't be hearing safe in an indoor situation. Outdoor, yes, but indoor, you're still containing a lot of that, that blast, because it being supersonic, the suppressor's not catching all of it, obviously.
Right.
I think suppressed in the house, the biggest problem with suppressing, I like the idea of trying to reduce the decibels, because if you're in a home firefight, you got other things to think about than your hearing right at that point in time. But I think the biggest problem, as I mentioned earlier in the chat, was the biggest problem is the blowback, because if you're grabbing a gun at night and you're like me and you wear glasses, I don't plan like my bedside gun is not anywhere near where my glasses are. And if that thing is going to have a lot of blowback, after about the third shot, I'm not going to be able to see a damn thing.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest concern about using a suppressed weapon in the home. I understand it's a good idea from a sound point of view, but I'm really concerned about getting those small particles in your eyes and for all practical purposes, blinding yourself after the first 3 or 4 shots. Assuming you ever fire that many.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends. I mean, I don't know. I watch guys like Aaron Cowan, and I mean, he's a big proponent of suppressors and and things like that, and shoots a lot of suppressors indoors. I haven't really heard his take on this particular subject. Not that I can recall. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's probably out there somewhere, as much stuff as he does. But I would say, I mean, if you want someone opinion that probably has a lot of experience doing that, I would search Aaron Cowan's YouTube and see if he has a few videos on it. Probably does.
Yeah, but he's probably wearing eye protection the whole time, is all I'm suggesting.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I mean, I'm saying in his video explanation, he could cover that point, and say, hey, the blowback is something to worry about. But like I said, you're gonna definitely have to find the perfect setup, to cover all your bases. You're not gonna just be able to go buy a suppressor and buy an AR, slap it up there, and think you're good to go. It's not gonna work like that. It's gonna take some tinkering to make it worthwhile.
You mentioned don't keep your glasses near your gun. Did you ever think of maybe changing that setup and getting an end table or something that's closer? Or
I already have an end table on that side.
Well, I mean, whatever the setup is, just have you thought of maybe?
Well, the more think about it, they say you need to be able to get to your gun within 5 to 10 seconds. That in the home, if you can't reach your weapon within 5 to 10 seconds, you might just as well not have one. So that's and I read that in an article, so I don't know how true that is or how they quote that statistic. But the bottom line is that that unfortunately, when I take all my stuff off at night, I put it on my dresser, and my dresser is on the opposite side of the bed from where my firearm is, and all of that, because I sleep on one side of the bed. Even though I'm single, I still sleep on my side of the bed, believe it or not. And on the opposite side is where all that stuff is. And it would be relatively, I have a small end table next to there, and it's already covered up with lamps, phones, and breathing equipment and stuff like that, because I have sleep apnea. But I get your point. I mean, I think that's a valid point.
Right, that's one of the things is that, like, I get you want your gun close, but my glasses, for one, I always like get into bed, then take my glasses off and reach out. So like they're always within an arm's reach of wherever I am.
Yeah, mine's not like that. So
I just figured that would be, and then it's basically table there, safe right underneath it, and that's what I go with the little 3-button, quick access thing. But most of the time, I just leave it out. Depends.
All right. Well, with the AR suppressed, did you guys talk about the gas buster charging handle, or just diverse the gas down?
Yeah, I mentioned it. Also, they make. Grab this real quick. They make the gas buster charger handle where whatever it is seals the back, kind of, because there's a gap in between, your charger handle and the back of your receiver that gas seeps through. They make that, and also companies like Radian. I can get this apart. Sheesh. Well, I guess some of you guys can see it. If you're listening, you won't be able to see it. But Radian, they make the Raptor charger handle. They make a suppressor version with like cuts in it and stuff like that to kind of vent some of the gas before it gets back there. It'll blow out your ejection port more than it would come out the back of your charger handle.
Right, instead of making it like a channel that blows it right back into your eyes.
Yeah, expensive.
That's cool.
You're going to pay like $100.
You watch people that shoot suppressed, if they're not wearing, even if they're wearing eyewear, they're still going to have a big black mark on their face. Especially when they are. It shits backwards.
I say sometimes I get gas in my face and I'm not even shooting suppressed.
Exactly. All right, well, that's a good question. I don't think we saw any questions coming on the YouTube side, or am I crazy?
No, Midnight hijacked it, and it's like they're doing a food.
Yeah, we just ignore him.
I don't think he actually meant to do it. It just he couldn't, help himself, and he used a. Actually, I don't know if pickle's a vegetable. I guess so. He made the mistake of using the word pickle in one of his comments, and that everybody ran with it. He'll come around again.
So,
that was a good question, though. That was a good discussion.
I was going to say, I had a question that actually came up in another chat that I was listening to. And it was one of those, I checked into the chat for like 5 minutes, and then I ended up having to go. So I never really even heard the answer to it. I think actually it might have been Clover's chat earlier. So this might be redundant to you, but still keeping on the training theme, but switching over a little bit. The idea was couples going to training together, like kind of like a good idea, bad idea type thing. And I was just interested because we have some more people in here. What your guys' thought of that was?
I think if it's 2 guys or 2 gals, it's fine. But if it's a guy and a gal, it's probably a bad idea.
You mean like a couple? Well, what about the idea that if you're going to be, potentially having to do things at the same time, getting parallel instructions here, both on the same, frame of reference, and if you then have to act and protect a kid or a grandma or something, consistency there that would be better off.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking of when I heard some of the answers. Because I guess just to summarize, I don't remember even who said what, but it seemed like a lot of people were just like, oh no, I can't take the wife training, like we just get in a fight or whatever. And I guess if that's your personality or something, then if it's going to end up making the training worse, like you would know like your own significant other better than some random person on the internet, I would think. But yeah, my whole point was I would kind of like to see everyone being on the same wavelength. So if it's like, all right, I'm going to go do this, what the other person's doing, because like you said, you have the same, almost like game plan or the same mindset type of thing. But I can see it is kind of stereotypical, but well, I guess I'll be sexist, whatever. The guy ends up making the girl nervous, because he's trying to correct her instead of letting the instructor do, the instructing. It's like, no, you do it this way, blah, blah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, I want to hear, why do you think it's a bad idea?
Well, I'm just looking at the whole, anytime you get in a training situation where you're developing a skill, women and men approach these things differently because their heads are wired differently. And not to say one is better than the other, but just they are different. And I just can see you're trying to go through the house clearing, exercise or whatever, and you go left, and she says, well, I thought you were going to go right because it's obvious to me that you should have gone right instead of left. And that would, again, that's the kind of crap that happens between couples all the time. And I think
is it better to get that misunderstanding out of the way in a training class, rather than the first time you have to use it in real life?
Yeah.
I think it could be.
I don't agree. I mean, I'm trying to think of how to phrase it, but I mean, in a training, I mean, I kind of get, maybe one aspect would be, okay, they're in a training class and together, and this guy's so, worrying about what his wife's doing in the class, instead of, yeah, you're right, letting the instructor do it. But I mean, also that I think that comes down to the individual persons, and also the instructor should quell that, ASAP. I was watching I was listening to a podcast, Jim Digger podcast today. He had Pat Mack on it, and he was saying in his classes, he don't let couples stand beside each other. He puts them on one end or the other, so they can't interact. So the husband can't, be trying to, work with his wife, because the husband's not there to work with his wife. They're both there to take the instruction of the instructor. And I think Dad kind of saw that issue. And I think that the training is good, because I mean, if you got two people in the same household, whatever the couple would be, whatever your mate is, right? You guys are learning the same things, and you guys would have to come up with some type of plan or some type of strategy in the house, so that you guys know what each other's role is or what you guys doing. You know what I mean? If you guys are going to clear the house together, you guys need to practice that, or, if you guys have an exit plan with, maybe you got kids and, hey, I'm going to need to cover you. You go grab the kids and get out the back door, or whatever the case may be. But I think the class is a great place to iron a lot of that stuff out, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I mean, you could kind of bounce the ideas off of, the instructor, off of the other students, and I don't know. I guess, like I said, I was hearing a lot of negativity, and I want to put a little bit more of a positive spin on it. However, that being said, I know from experience, like, for example, I've been trying to teach my mom how to shoot, and she has straight up told me my dad is not allowed to be even present while I'm teaching her how to shoot. It's just the thing. She gets nervous, and we shot up north one time, and I'm not saying I'm a big trainer. I'm still learning myself. I'm just teaching her, like, still the safety rules and, like, bullet goes this way type of stuff. And the one weekend, she enjoyed it. We shot a little bit. She liked it. And then we had another time, and my dad at that time was there. He didn't say anything. I'll give him credit. But he was, like, standing over her shoulder just watching. And she literally shot 2 bullets and said, okay, I'm done. I'm going in the house. and she just was uncomfortable, and she's already scared of guns to begin with, so I'm already trying to leap over that hurdle, and responsibility, safety, blah blah, whatever, all that stuff. But so anyway, so I could see if they both like went to a class and the instructor's trying to say stuff and he's staring at her, and it's, for one, he's not paying attention, right? So he's not getting anything from the class, and two, she's freaked out and wants to go home. So that's a perfect example. Those people, particularly my parents, should not go to a class together. Now, however, me and my ex, we took a CCW class, and granted, that's also not a huge, like, super in-depth training, but we took the class together just fine. And there was some of the live fire training part. Oh, well, whatever, the test or whatever you call it, was more just a group of friends going to the range because it was a small class, and we knew the instructor. It was a friend of a friend. But either way, we both picked up tips, and he helped her with the grip and stuff, and I was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, you're shooting better now, and it was fine. So if that's the type of mentality you have, then go take a class together.
Yeah, I think I've heard that story about your parents before. I think
I think I have told it before, but it's because I'm still working through it. I still have yet to get my mom to go out and like shoot for an hour with me. So I'm still on the journey, and she's still expressed she does still want to learn. She mentioned that to me a couple weeks ago. We were up north, and it ended up being a rainy, crappy weekend. We didn't really shoot that much, but she's like, next time, me and you, he's going to be out driving the tractor. I said, okay, that's a perfect plan. He likes driving the tractor. He'll be gone for a couple hours.
I enjoy shooting by myself as well, but I could take a class with my old lady, but we still enjoy shooting by ourselves. And I understand where Smeggy and Cycle and you guys were coming from about working up a game plan in the house, but still yet, I do enjoy our time shooting together, but I think the alone time by yourself away from your significant other is good as well.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, on average, by a wide margin, men enjoy training more so than women. I mean, that I think that's always going to be the case.
Well, that's changing.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's all. I think we're going to be the majority always. But it is. I mean, your spouse should work on it. I work with my wife, on shooting. Not as much as she should be, a lot further along, but I don't get to shoot as much, which in turn she doesn't get to shoot as much. So, I think it's a great idea.
Bosh, you haven't said nothing. You're married, I think.
Yeah, I can see the argument from both points of view, to be honest. So I didn't really have a good point to make because everybody seems to have covered most of the points. It's I understand why instructors would want to separate husbands from wives to study. I also understand that obviously you have to have a plan when you're living together in a house, but those two things are not necessarily the same, right? So you'd go get trained up, have similar training, and then apply that to how you would defend your home, etc. I can't add that much. I think it's pretty smart. At the same time, I shoot with Leia. Leia doesn't have a problem shooting. She probably wouldn't necessarily go shooting without me. Maybe unless she was going to go do it with her friends or something like that. But that's not happened. That's never happened. So.
Right now, so we're kind of doing Training Thursday open format show. Got a bunch of different people in here. We were just talking about how long people have been members of gun channels. So people from, hopefully you guys been here since the first year. Probably Smeggy, was that the first year still? I think we got a 12.
I'm not sure. Because I joined when it first started, and then when they went to the pay thing, I didn't. And then as soon as you made it free, I joined and then started paying for it. So I don't know what my problem was that first, like that little bit when you were still kind of small. But I was around back then.
I was around back then as well. I think I'm member number 500. I heard you guys talking about it. You and Yankee and Matt talking about it, and I had never joined any social media before, so Gun Channels was definitely my first social media that I had signed up for.
Well, then you picked a good one.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I've been around for a while. I'm surprised I'm that high.
That's what I thought too. But I mean, it's yeah.
I mean, yeah. I don't. I know it took me a while to sign up. Though I remember that. You know, but I always gave money. I think I gave like the $1 on PayPal. I was like, here, you can have it. But okay, I have a question. What do you guys look out of training, whether what you had or what you would like to take, or dream training or whatever? What do you guys look for? What are you guys into? Examples would be maybe pure marksmanship, your more tactical type classes, vehicle stuff, or things like that. What are you guys looking for?
I know one on my bucket list, and it was actually kind of mentioned earlier today, but long range shooting.
Okay.
I really don't know much about long range shooting. I haven't really had an opportunity to go past a couple 100 yards, but with all like the math and the calculations and stuff, and I'm a nerd, so I feel like I'd be good at it if I like just dove in head first and was like, I'm going to learn everything I need to know about it. So yeah. I'm not just going to make it up myself, right? So I'd like to definitely start with a class that can teach me some of that stuff, and then I can start working it on my own.
That's funny because that's actually on my list. I'm actually trading one of my ARs for a Remington 700 so I can get into some long range. I mean, long as if I can get out and touch 1,000, I'd be pretty happy. Consistently.
No, I was thinking the same way.
I was thinking gun fu and the gun kata. That's particularly what I want to get training in. No, I actually would like to see. Well, I would like a practical like room clearing with like a shotgun and handgun training class, like a house clearing thing. That would probably be the most beneficial to me, I would think.
You want to be a ninja.
Oh, Front Sight gives you that in their like 3-day.
Yeah.
Touches on it all.
Yeah, my buddy, or one of the guys I used to work with, he was a Front Sight life member or some crazy high level status. Like he just constantly goes to classes at Front Sight, loves Front Sight, and he did a lot of that stuff. I was like, oh, okay, I got to keep that in mind. That's one of the places to go. Wow, DB, man.
They do it in a way that is wise, I think. They're not crazy about it like some of the people that everybody likes to scorn, or comes to mind when people think of the extremes, right? They do it in a very sobering way and explain to you as they're teaching them before. They preface it with, this is not the way to do it, but you aren't going to call the police every time. Realistically, you're not going to call the police every time someone makes a noise in your house. So, they show you some techniques and some theory or whatever, but like I say, from the classes I've seen that weren't like high speed or whatever. When you're talking like high speed, it's a little bit different when you're like training cops and stuff. But as far as like, normal intermediate level stuff, they do a pretty decent job of addressing room clearing. And they have 360 houses right away. So when you do the whatever 2 or 4 day class, you're going to be in a 360 shoot house with live fire, walking around corners and going through doorways. So you're not just maybe on a range, theoretically this would be a door or something. You're in a 360 room, which really adds to the experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few guys that are on my list. Firstly, I have a guy who I work with. He's in a federal agency, but he's a master class competition shooter. Who's also he's an ex-Delta guy, and he does some private instruction. But I mean, I've been trying to break onto this competition thing. My first match when I didn't get to shoot went horrible, but we got an ultimate steel thing coming up. I think I'm gonna do, but I've been trying to get want to do some training with him. He says I'm not ready, but that's the kind of thing I want, because since I want to break into the competition, I really want to get into that, and just, speed and accuracy, man. That's so important. And I remember back when I got into this gun thing and start looking at training and learning about different stuff like that, I would notice a lot of people would shun the competition. And nowadays it's, it's full circle where competition guys are like leading edge because I mean they're clearly better shooters, pure shooting than everybody else. You know what I mean? And a lot of the practices from those guys are taking hold in all the other aspects of gun handling and stuff like that. I mean, those guys are just awesome. I mean, that's all they do is shoot. So, speed and accuracy is just ridiculous. You take a guy like Bob Vogel, I think that's his name, Bob Vogel, right? I mean, the guy's amazing. You know what I mean? And he does instruction, and I mean, you just want to take a class to learn how to shoot good, accurate, and fast. Those are the guys you go to. So. That was about 2 cents on that.
As far as training classes, I was pretty much on board with like long range and, like you said, marksmanship. But honestly, I live in Missouri and don't think I've ever killed a deer longer than 75 yards. And that's pretty much what I'm into is hunting. But I kind of like cautious take on it, like house clearing and, close range. That would be kind of cool to take as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I'm a bullseye shooter, and the matches that I shoot are not more than 100 yards. So I'm not really that interested. I mean, I think long range shooting would be a lot of fun, but what I'll tell you what I look for in a class from a trainer is flexibility, because people are all different. I'm a fat old dude, and there's just some shit I just cannot do. And I don't want those guys. I remember I went to an Appleseed shoot one time, and the first thing you do during an Appleseed shoot is you shoot at the beginning to see how well you shoot. Well, I was qualifying at 300 yards when I started the course. By the time they got through with me, I couldn't even qualify at 100 yards because they kept saying, "We don't care what works for you. This is the way you have to do it." And that really pissed me off. So that's why I never went back to another one.
What did they do that was so different?
Yeah, what was weird?
Oh, like things like when you're prone, I need a really steep prone angle because I'm so heavy, and I also cannot I can't do the four square with the legs, where you take your other foot and you put it up against your knee and all that shit. I couldn't do any of that stuff, and they they wouldn't let me shoot with my legs just splayed out. They wouldn't let me shoot with a hard angle to the target. It was just really irritating.
Yeah.
So and again, it was because and it was like, Jesus, guys, when I came here, I was qualifying at 300 yards, which actually was the best you could do. I probably should have just got up and walked away at that point in time, but because they insisted that I do it a particular way, it was very, very irritating. Now, there were things about the course that I learned that were really good, and I've used them since to improve my shooting. But it would have been nice if they just recognized the fact that not everybody is, 5'9.5" and 155 pounds, and so it's okay for them to shoot that way, but us wide bodies don't shoot the same way.
Yeah, I mean, if you physically can't do something, there should be some type of accommodation because, if I physically can't do what you're teaching, what's the point? I've seen, I've heard, my approach is that any training I've had where, they want us to do something a certain type of way that I can't physically do, I just roll with it, just for the class or, just for whatever training. And, afterwards, if it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for me. I dismiss it. That's always been my take on that. There's a lot of things I do with my company where, their instructors are pretty good, but a lot of their stuff is, to me, outdated. And I do it while I'm there, but after that, I'm like, it's not my thing.
Yeah, the best instruction I've had has been like when my guys were I do a lot of DeWar matches and 4-position matches, and I have a real tough time sitting and kneeling. And one of the reasons I have trouble kneeling is because I have bad knees. And it was really nice because the first time I went to one of those matches, the guy saw I was having trouble and he came over and said, "Hey, here are 2 or 3 alternate ways of setting up to kneel and see if one of these is more comfortable for you." And same thing with sitting. It was like, there's, you can do it the Indian style where the soles of your feet are put together, which ends up being the way that I do it. Or you can put your legs under you, or, you can cross them or whatever. And it was good because they had 2 or 3 different ways you could do it. And whichever one worked best for you, that was good. So they were cognizant of your limitations, and they had ways around them. Like for instance, I could never wear a backup gun on my ankle because under normal circumstances, I can't reach my ankles. It'd be kind of stupid for me to wear a backup gun on my ankle because I can't use it.
Buddy of mine's I guess he's law enforcement, but right now he's doing internal affairs, and he was talking to me about backup guns and stuff like that, how he would, for some of the new guys, he would help train when they were starting out, and that he'd always be able to mess with people that had ankle guns, because when they would try and go for the ankle gun, he'd mess them up and get them in a lock, or do something like pull a fake knife or something like that if he was a perp, acting as a perp. So he was basically always saying never carry an ankle gun. That was his point of view. Too compromised a position.
I'd like to apologize for all the listeners. We have 35 people listening. We don't have a delay, so Cycle inadvertently said what he said instead of saying crisscross applesauce. Sorry about that.
That's what we tell our 4-year-old to sit cross-legged.
Are you serious?
Crisscross applesauce. That's what they say in school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of Indian style.
The new speech.
Instead of the culturally inappropriate Indian style. Because then my kid's like, "What do you mean, dot or feather?"
Echoed bed, whatever that word is.
No, because then my kid always asks, like, "Well, what do you mean, a dot or a feather? What kind of Indian style are we sitting?"
Everybody sits that way.
They both sit that way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you're covered. I mean, they both sit that way. It's totally fine.
I think though, if you sit Indian style and it's Indian with a dot, then randomly a rainstorm will occur, and then you have to get up in Bungara.
So what about lotus position?
That's a deep cut for anybody that's and it listens to any or watches any Bollywood movies.
All right. Well, I think this is a good time to switch into a different topic. So we'll keep moving along. That was our training topic stuff, though. So we've got guests in. Dirk, you like to feature a gun shop every day. Tell us about a gun shop that you like. And you're in Virginia. We didn't even introduce everybody. Dirk's in Virginia.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in Northern Virginia, Alexandria specifically. I have a new gun shop actually. One I've heard about. It's called Quantico Tactical. It's in it's like outside of Quantico. I think it's technically in Woodbridge, Virginia. Maybe. I don't know that. I know how to get there. But there was one I was going to before called The Gun Dude. It closed down. They just weren't making money. It was a very good shop. It was like a gun shop / coffee shop. It's pretty good though. Did a lot of consignment stuff. But Quantico Tactical is a shop where, they're outside of Quantico. They're named after the base, obviously. And they really support veterans. Everything in their store is discounted with the military discount on the tag. And they give the discount to anybody really. Like my buddy walked in there, he bought a Legion or whatever and something else, and it was something, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm in the military, whatever." Asked for documentation. I'm like, "No, you're in the military, cool," And they just gave him like all the discounts and stuff like that. But it's a very good shop. They got guns, gear, stuff like that. They do a lot of Blue Label and things like that. So it's a good shop. You ever in Northern VA, check out Quantico Tactical.
Looks like they got a whole bunch of unit patches up on the top of their.
Yeah, they do. So, yep. So this little side here to the right of that picture is like charging handles, safeties, triggers, stuff like that. Below that on the counter is like all their optics. On the wall is rifles, shotguns, and the glass pistols. Then they have another section to the left of that with all their SIG stuff. To be like a SIG like dealer, they have to have these certain SIG stands and stuff. But they got everything. They got all the SIG sights. They got all your Aimpoint T1s, your EOTechs, your Vortex scopes. You name, new tactical whiz bang accessory, it's in there. You know what I mean? Gear, HSGI, Refactor Tactical, Blue Force gear, a lot of 511 clothes. I mean, it's all encompassing gun shop and pretty good guys. Great staff. They're very nice. I haven't found one better. I haven't been to a better gun shop than this in my life.
Is there a chain or is it just the one?
It is a chain. They have like 5. I know there's another big one in Texas.
Oh, okay.
I guess there's one in Kansas too. So.
Virginia's pretty decent with gun stuff, so the shops are good to go, or is it weird because of DC's right there?
No. I mean, Virginia's Virginia. Virginia has nothing to do with DC. I mean, Virginia's same day, 4473, but plus also state police have to do a check too, but it does it all in one. I think the state police runs the NICS for the shop also while they're doing theirs or something like that.
Right. Do they charge you for it or is it free?
I think it's like $2. So the transfer fees, all money for transfers are $15 for them. So I think $2 for your background check from the state, and then they charge you $15. So $17.
That's really not too bad. $15 for transfers. Huh?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I was going to a shop that was charging $25 because that was the cheapest in the area that I knew about. Because almost anywhere else in my area is $50 for a transfer fee, and NFA items are $100. So, yeah. Oh, and they're NFA dealer too, so they have suppressors and whatever, short barrels, whatever you want.
Right on, awesome. So, yeah, so one of the reasons we do the show on a daily basis, so we can feature a new gun shop every day. So, very cool. I don't think we've ever had one in Virginia before, so that's the first one. All right, so looking at some of the day in history stuff, looks like you guys found that today is in 1941, the day they sunk the Bismarck.
Yeah.
So what was the Bismarck? The Nazi battleship?
Yeah, it was like one of the biggest ships at the time, and it set out with 2 escort cruisers, and they spent, I don't know how long they spent tracking it down, but there wasn't a lot of ships that could compete against it, and even the ones that had cannons large enough to actually damage it weren't at all up to the task to actually doing it. So it took out a lot of ships in the process, took out a lot of ships to get to it, but they finally tracked it down. Weather was kind of on its side. It was able to kind of hide in the weather. It was very interesting. And I posted a link on the gun channel side. There's a YouTube channel that does a multi-part very fast. It's like the cliff notes of the whole thing. Very interesting. And a radio.
Were they high on way north? Or was that a different ship and they had to plan the bombing runs to when they thought it was going to be there and then it happened to be there kind of thing?
I believe they took a couple different cracks at it. And
did they kill it with planes or with boats?
I believe it was boats that finally took it down.
Okay, I'm thinking of a different boat then that got taken out with planes.
But it was really interesting that they were using radio tracking to find it, and there was I think it was a female telegrapher who knew the radio operator on the Bismarck by the sound of his Morse code keying, and they were able to figure out that they were trying to figure out if it was going to France or if it was trying to go to like Norway or something like that. And they had to make a decision because they only had enough fuel to go in one direction. And she figured out that by listening to this Morse code conversation that it was coming from the Bismarck because she knew that radio operator by the sound of the tones that he makes, the dits and the daws.
That's pretty
fascinating.
Cool. His sig,
ham nerd.
Yeah, ham nerd. Yeah.
his audio signature or whatever was enough to like be able to focus on it, and then they could triangulate the actual where it's coming from to figure out which it was going.
She copied the message, and see if it was just a message you picked up on CW, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, it's just they're going to whatever Marseille for a party, or Marseille for leave, or whatever. You wouldn't know what ship it was from necessarily. It's Morse code, you wouldn't know. But because they recognized they call it the fist, the sound of the way he formed his notes, so his keys, that was how they figured it out. Very interesting.
Right on. So what we did, little known fact, that one of the reasons we were able to with the Nazis is we used left-handed telegraphers, and the Nazis couldn't figure that shit out. It's like a different.
Well, no, we use Native American telegraphers. Right.
I'm racist. I was just gonna pick on left-handed people.
Oh, sorry.
So,
as a left-handed person, I take umbrance to that. I'm just kidding.
1787 Constitutional Convention opens in Philadelphia. George Washington presiding. So we started having some freedom. 1787. Not too much other stuff. John Scopes indicted for teaching Darwinism.
Oh, Scopes monkey trial, yeah.
John Scopes, the inventor of the scope.
Yep. Nope.
Or scope mouthwash.
Monkey trial. Monkey trial.
Monkey physics. Okay.
Today. Or he was indicted today.
The NSA went back in time to 1915 and had Thomas Edison invent the telescribe, which is used to record telephone conversations.
Snap.
So
led by Marty McFly.
1953, the first atomic cannon is fired in Nevada. 1953, an atomic cannon.
That is cool.
Ralph Waldo Emerson was born in 1803. Mr. Bojangles, Bill Bojangles, tap dancer, born in 1878.
Mr. Bojangles is really a girl.
Igor Skort, how do you say the helicopter? Trying to say it. Can't look at
Sikorsky?
No.
Sikorsky.
Sikorsky.
It had to be Sikorsky because he's the guy that runs Sikorsky helicopter stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It adds up.
United Technologies here in Connecticut.
That adds up.
Igor
Sikorsky.
Yeah,
Sikorsky, American aviation engineer who developed the first successful helicopter, was born today in what year? Helicopter? Inventor of the helicopter? 1889. 1889.
Wow.
That long ago.
That's not that long, though, really.
That was one of those hand crank jobbers, right? You had to go like this.
It's before our grandparents. I mean, some of our grandparents might have been born in 18. Not that long ago. That's it. So that's some history. If anybody knows any history, let us know. Probably have a lot more here once I start compiling some stuff from one of the projects I'm working on here. But let's see. We talked about a gun of the day. We didn't talk about a movie. One of the things we like to hit every day is a gun-related movie. We're running a little bit long, but first movie that comes up on the Gun Channel side, we'll talk about that one. Girk,
I watched a pretty good one the other day, but we'll let the Gun Channels have it.
What's the one you watched the other day?
It's called The Iceman.
Oh,
It's about a hitman kind of dude, and I don't want to give nothing else away, but it's just an action movie. It's got Ray Liotta and then like some other guy in it who's famous, I guess.
It's Winona Ryder too, right?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm so bad at names. I mean, I know the lady in it, but is that the one I'm thinking of? I don't know.
I don't know if I've seen this one or not.
You're
So
about to ask me,
what?
You're about to ask me something?
Oh no. So we're gonna go into Iceman since Maggie brought up a movie. So has anybody else seen this Iceman movie?
I have.
All right. So what do you think? Is it good?
I liked it. If you like the movie Goodfellas, you'll probably like this movie. It's probably not as actiony or as much like amazing music as in Goodfellas. It's obviously not a Scorsese joint, but it's very good, and it's based on a real person, if I understand correctly. And if I remember correctly, though, a lot of his hits, he's not using guns. He does. There's plenty of guns, but it's not just guns.
So
definitely not. But one of the things I noticed, and I'm looking up which guns are in it right now, but like one of the things I noticed, it seemed to have pretty good gun handling stuff. There wasn't as much kind of Hollywood whatever. I mean, there was some, but
So it's going back and forth on Google between the real Iceman that they found in the.
That's.
But so
yeah.
this looks like it's a movie from the 70s, so it's all like 70s clothes and cars and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, then I'm gonna like it, I think.
Yeah. It definitely has a gang. Well, because he was a hitman for gangsters. It's pretty good, and the dude has like pretty crazy anger issues, which plays a role into him kind of getting started down this road. It's good.
yeah. And then at the end, where it turns out that actually he's an alien, and it was all a dream. Like that part really blew my mind.
And at the end, he falls out of some ice.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. See, he actually is a caveman who woke up in the 1970s.
His hand-woven hemp bag falls, rips. He's like, "Oh no, my flint, my flint!"
I actually remember that movie. Jesus.
Yeah, that
was like a horrible movie.
Shot the woolly mammoth at the museum. That was pretty funny.
Shot that woolly mammoth right in the face.
What are we talking about?
He tangent.
I just taking the joke too far. Sorry. No, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I had never even heard of it till just the other day.
I don't know where I saw it. It was one of those ones that kind of like hopped up on me. I think it was Netflix. It was just like there. It's like, hey, you'll like this. Shut up, dummy, and watch it. I was like, you're right. You're always right, Netflix. And I sat down and watched it. It was good.
Like, nope, you were not going to your school recital. Netflix said to watch this movie.
That's right.
Skynet knows what you want to watch.
Yep.
So, Girk, you've seen this one, Iceman?
No, I have not seen Iceman.
Clover, seen it?
Negative.
Cycle?
Nope, never seen it.
So we only had Smeggy and.
I'm scared because I don't know any movies, and the fact that like I know one that other people don't. I don't know what's going on right now.
Right on.
Well, my world is totally turned upside down. I mean, Smeggy knows a movie that no one else has watched.
Steve, have you seen this one?
No, but it sounds interesting.
Right on. Well, that's really the point of this, to talk about movies, not just that we've all seen before and talk about them, but talk about ones that we have not seen. So I would have probably thought that was some sort of, something about an Iceman, like literally some sort of caveman thing. So right on.
Any sort of gangster movie, Donnie Brasco-ish movie, I'm totally down for it. Old cars and revolvers and gangsters, I'm down.
Just looking at the pictures on the Google, it kind of looks like that Stallone movie where he's kind of fat and I think he's a cop. He's like a local cop, and there's
Copland.
Is it kind of like that movie?
No.
Oh.
I mean, it's gritty. It's gritty. What's a good comparison that I can make? I still stick with it. It reminds me of Goodfellas to a degree. It's not all as hard down that gangstery role, but the feel of the time, it's very much like that. Oh, I don't want to. No, that's okay. I won't. We're talking about one movie.
Just everyone go watch it. I'll give it a thumb. I'm not giving it 2 thumbs, but I'll give it a thumb.
It's a solid thumb.
It doesn't even get thumbs from these guys. So
no, it's one thumb. You get one thumb.
Yeah, all right. So,
given that it's based on a true story, I mean, even without seeing it, I might give it a thumb, because I really like movies that are based on actual people.
That's crazy. That's crazy thumb use there, but you can do what you want. It's a free country, so.
Yeah, I didn't pick the movie.
So I was about to ask Girk though if you haven't been on anything going on in your neck of the woods. What's happening?
Like what?
I don't know. What's going on? You got any plans? Doing any kind of? You haven't done really videos in a while, but any plans to be? You mentioned some training or whatever.
Well, I mean, gun stuff. No, hopefully I can go to the range tomorrow. I've been doing a lot of dry fire. I wish I had my other camera put up, but as you can see, I just recently moved, so I'm in my basement right now.
That looks like a pretty sweet place there.
I got my little gun rack over here and all my stuff. waiting to get it safe. But so I do a lot of dry fire, so I got like targets on my wall and stuff like that. You know, but gun related. No, I've actually been meaning to talk to you because I have a podcast now that I've been trying to start up. I got about 3 episodes. I'm about 3 episodes in. One is on YouTube, and I'm trying to get it on iTunes. I just don't really understand how to upload it to the podcast app, but I get with you later about that. And essentially, that podcast it's not gun related per se. I mean, it's gun related because I'm gun related, but it's just anything. I kind of patterned it after like what Joe Rogan's kind of doing. Get a guest and just have a conversation about whatever the hell we talk about. Which usually is guns because that's kind of my thing. But a lot of different issues, things like that. It's called Wasting Mind. There is an Instagram for that.
Cool. Did you ever listen to Deezus and Miro?
Who's that?
Deezus and Miro. You ever listen to them?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. We can talk after.
All right. I don't know. I have about eight different, probably 8 different podcasts I listen to religiously. But man, I can really only listen to them driving back and forth to work, or if I'm in the kitchen cooking or something like that. Other than that, I gotta just do it while I'm doing something else, and I'm having hearing problems too, so that's which just sucks because I'm only 28. I gotta make an appointment, might have to get a hearing aid, but so that's kind of sucks because they got to be like in the car, have some headphones in to hear it, or something really loud to hear it.
Well, that part sucks, but I like the idea that you're doing a podcast again. I know you've done them before in the past, and
yeah. Oh, made me think about. I'm sorry. What else I was going to say? The reason it's not gun related is because I feel like I've done that with you guys for 7 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just so burnt out on gun stuff, and I think that market's so saturated. I just want to, I wanted my thing to just be about life. You know what I mean?
So you said your podcast is called Channel of Guns?
Yes, Channel of Guns.
Number one rule of anything that you do creative, right, is enjoy it, have fun with it, and I don't think you need to be set in any kind of regime. Like just because you've done something before, you can always go back and address it again. You can always pick something up, but you can always leave something behind too. You're allowed to move on, right? But I think it's valuable when we have these situations. We see. I'm convinced that we're seeing less and less knee-jerk reaction to these atrocities, right? Because there's so many people out there with your point of view. You're a gun guy, you're out there doing your other stuff in life, and then having conversations with people, just talking about stuff, but you've got that knowledge and that interest and dedication to the second and the freedom that it really is signifying. And as long as you're going to have a conversation with somebody, that's going to be there. So that's actually more effective than any number of Hickoks we might have who are honestly just talking to a bunch of kids and doing effective stuff, but you're doing, or your efforts are the same as a lot of people's. They're doing great work.
I can tell you what, doing like, with you and with all you guys and doing these chats for so long and discussing different issues and talking about how to, not necessarily confront people, but talk to people who aren't in the know per se about things has, like, throughout my life, the years I've been doing this made me better at just talking about someone about any point of view I have. And, talking about it constructively and giving a good opinion instead of like throwing what I feel on them and say, no, it should be this way, and this way. I've learned how to sit back and say, oh, okay, that's how you feel. Well, let me tell you how that isn't necessarily correct. You know what I mean? And things like that. And then especially the gun thing, but with anything, it's helped me. And still, anytime I get a chance to, spread some gun knowledge, man, I'm all about it. Like, my guys at work are probably tired of me talking about guns.
Over what you got going on? We just had a chat over there, kind of having some fun, but you said tomorrow's going to be a more serious one. What's going on tomorrow?
Yeah, with the school shooting thing, whatever, last week. I don't know, the governor here in Texas assembled a round table, and I don't know, a bunch of different things come up from, I don't know. I don't want to scare anybody or use any scare tactic to put anything crazy out there it's going to happen. But topics that come up were expanded background checks, registration, age requirements, mandatory gun safes, some red flag law stuff, some different things have been tossed around. So we're going to discuss, what all was mentioned during the roundtable. Then we're going to discuss, politicians involved here in Texas, the history with anti-gun stuff that's went on here in Texas, and or been attempted rather, and just talk about the likelihood and what we need to do going forward to make sure that none of that takes place.
Yeah, been attempted sounds like a big task, because that probably is every session, potentially.
Well, we're not going to go through the entire history, but yeah, because there's, anywhere between, I would say, average 8 to 10 probably anti-gun or anti-weapons, bills every session. Of course, we're every other year for our sessions. So, but still, you start racking those up over a decade. I mean, you can get, 50, 60 bills pretty easy.
Amateurs not even knowing how to picture text over there. So, well, interesting to hear how that one goes, and kind of, compare or contrast into farting around tonight. Cycle, anything going on?
No, we're at the point where now I'm doing my regular gun matches. So I'm shooting anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week, and usually one or 2 days of the weekend. So it's keep me pretty busy, but it's also motorcycle camping time. So I'll be going away for Memorial Day. I probably won't be around tomorrow night, but I might be. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to handle it yet. But that's basically what's going on. Haven't had. I'm hoping that CZ gets some more parts in for that firearm I was putting back together. But until then, basically, I'm taking amateur radio courses. Hosh got me started up on that, and I had already passed my general, but I studied for the test and I didn't learn the material. So now I'm actually watching more general stuff on YouTube, and I actually have the ARRL books, and I'm working on that. And I fully intend on getting my amateur extra license, so that'll be something new to do. And then after that, I'll probably take some online courses on music theory. So I'm like one of them Renaissance guys, I'm having a good time.
Well, if you like music, you should get into CW.
I don't consider 2 tones, music. I might like the Asian style of 12 tones, but I don't think,
or whatever. Right?
No. It's not the 2 tones that's the importance. It's the cadence and rhythm of the characters. That's the musical aspect of it.
Right.
You have to have a musical ear to be able to, people can play by ear. Same thing with CW. You have to be able to receive that and turn it into the letters in your head.
I've tried playing by ear, but the strings end up leaving the burn mark eventually.
Boom.
Yeah, but that's basically it. It's it's that time of the year, so a lot of my favorite interests, drinking, driving a motorcycle, shooting guns, playing with the radio, they're all coming together. So it's a lot of fun. It's good time of the year.
So a rock and roll biker who drinks and drives while he's shooting guns. All right,
that's what I heard.
It's pretty much.
Oh yeah, it's like my community's worst nightmare. Yeah.
So I don't know what's louder, his tailpipes or his shotgun. Wow.
Now you just need to erect like an over 100-foot tower, and you'll really be your neighborhood's best friend.
Put it on the back of the bike.
We're about to talk to Hush about his gig tomorrow, but
yes,
have you guys talked publicly about how Cycle's deal went down?
No.
So Cycle, take a minute and tell them the story of the ham test, if you would, or if you don't want to.
Oh, so Hosh got me interested in the radio stuff, and so I watched his videos on the technician's license, and I took a bunch of the tests. Okay. And I ordered the book, but it never came in.
As you're doing your podcast, he's doing the test along with you, right?
For technician.
Yep, for the technician stuff. And then he started doing the general stuff, and I watched 2 or 3 of his generals, and I also started answering all the questions in the question base for the general. But I didn't get them all. There was like, I don't know, like 400 or something, and I was like 60 short. So I went to take my test for the technicians, and I didn't ace it, but I did real well. And they said, hey, by the way, and actually, G-Webs, you had mentioned this to me as well. You said, hey, if you pass your technicians, you can take the general for free at the same sitting.
That's right. Yep.
So that's why I went and did that's why I did all the questions from the question base on the ARRL website. So I said, what the hell? I took the general test and I passed it with 2 questions to spare. I couldn't believe it.
Congratulations.
Even though I didn't finish the material. So then they gave me the amateur extra test, and I got 30 out of 50, which is not bad considering I never even looked at the material.
Yeah, that is good. Extra's hard.
So here's the people that ain't ham nerds. So there's 3 levels of ham nerd, and when you go to take your different tests to get your licenses for ham nerd, there's 1, 2, and 3, right? So Psycho was listening to Hosh do a cheat lesson on how to cheat and get your number 1.
I did not say to cheat. In no way did I do that.
I'm just summarizing it. So you're showing people how to get their test. Right?
He teaches the test.
Number 1. And he's going over like a study guide to number 1, And then Cycle is about to go take his test for number 1. I'm like, hey, they're going to let you take number 2 for free. So take a look at number 2. So Cycle goes over, takes a look at Hosh's thing about number 2, just quickly goes over, takes his test for number 1, passes it. They give him the free number 2 test, and he passes it with, like, he could have got 2 more wrong, he's saying. So basically he went there to study for number 1, or he studied for number 1 thinking he was going to get 1 test, and then ended up being able to pass the second test. So that's pretty cool.
And I did all the study in the same day I took the test.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I went through all the general questions. I was still doing general questions right up until the time I had to leave for the test.
So would you say the ham radio crash course is a good value at $0?
Oh, excellent. Yes. I would say it's one of the best cheap shit things I've ever done.
Excellent. I'm going to download this video and capture that clip.
So Hosh, what's going on with that?
Ham Radio Crash Course, regardless of what topic is, every Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm doing the general book right now. We're going through the study guide by the ARRL, and we're taking practice tests. And what I do is I go section by section through the practice tests. We cover the question pool, and I try to explain as best I can why they're asking the questions. Some of the questions are rules. Some of them are actual real RF stuff. Some of them is the components of a radio, all kinds of stuff. Tomorrow though is a bit different. I'm going to splash a bit of just a fun topic that I enjoy. It's going to be all about continuous wave, Morse code. So all of tomorrow is going to be on explaining why people should want to learn Morse code and then how to begin practicing it.
Right.
And Morse code's great.
Super valuable skill to have, at least to be familiar with, right? Because there's so many uses of it in emergencies and just having fun. You know, you're having a sleepover or something. If you and your friends know Morse code, you can chat with each other, not get in trouble. I mean, there's just all kinds of little ways you can use Morse code. People have used it throughout time as a way to communicate with sound or lights across the field with a light, flash a light bulb.
Oh yeah, that works. I mean, it's very fast. I'll take a quick little thing as crack at it. When you're talking, your voice has all this modulation and different pieces of information. And for the radio to be able to take that and modulate it, you got to take a pretty big chunk of the frequency band to fit that in there, fit that data of all those little changes and nuances to voice. Morse code is on and off, and you hold it more and you hold it less, and that's a DAW. So the bandwidth for voice is this big, but the bandwidth for Morse code is this big, meaning you could be way down in the noise, barely above the noise for everybody that's receiving you, and you can hear those dits and DAWs. It's an extremely valuable emergency mode of communication to learn, as G-Web's already mentioned. So that's just one reason.
Tap it on a pipe? tap it on, railroad track, whatever.
Stand away from the door.
Yeah.
Star Trek, right?
Yep.
Anyway, so you're doing those courses, and again, if somebody's interested in doing ham, the only barrier to entry is getting a license, which is a permit from the country at the federal level, and it costs like $5 or something. What did you say? There's 400 questions in the pool, so there's these 1, 2, and 3, level 1, 2, and 3. Each of the levels has a couple of hundred questions in it, and they're going to ask you 90 or 60 or something.
35.
35 and 35 and 50.
30, so just 30 of those hundreds of questions. So basically, the questions are available, and they're the same questions for years at a time. So you have plenty of opportunity. There's books written about it. There's efforts like Hosh is doing to go through and talk about them. You can either learn the material, you can brute force just memorize the questions and answers, or you can do what Hosh is doing, which I think is a real service, by going through the questions. That's sort of like a study guide. It's bringing you to the things that you need to address, but then giving you a little bit of theory. So now you're not getting lost in a swamp of theory, learning everything because they're going to ask you here or there. But instead, you're looking at the exact things they're going to ask you, learn the theory behind them. I learned it all just by brute force memorization. I figured out what the questions were, figured out what the right answers were. So when it comes to antennas and stuff, I'm lacking. It sounds like that's where Cycle's at. You pass the test, but you're not 100% confident in the real meat of it. So now you're going back and learning the theory.
I studied the test, not the discipline.
So now you're learning the theory.
And now I'm learning the discipline. And so there were actually some ARRL YouTubes on the general course that were very useful, though they did answer some of the questions kind of badly. And I'm going through the ARRL books now to finish the general, and then I'm going to start doing the same thing with the amateur extra. Yeah, thank you.
Don't beat yourself up. I think most people exit the exam in the same place as you are, and you really don't commit that stuff to memory until you actually start doing it. And that's what I keep saying.
You need to use it.
You got to live with it, and you got to go out there and do it.
And it's like driving, right?
It's like what?
It's like driving. Somebody's driving. They're going to have to worry about a whole different set of regs than somebody who lives in the country driving a different kind of vehicle, and they're all going to get used to whatever they drive in, and then sure, they can drive everywhere. Yeah, when you're a ham, you can do a lot of different things, but you're going to go do what you're going to do, search and rescue, talk to your friends, try to reach out, whatever it is you're going to do, and then that's what you're going to get familiar with, right?
Right. I mean, the big thing, they just want to make sure you don't electrocute yourself or others and do things damaging or in a bad way. So that's the big thing you got to learn. Other than that, I mean, when it comes to antennas, you'll learn by doing. You really will, because it's not that expensive to build antennas.
So looking forward to that. You do those ham radio crash course on Fridays, correct?
That's right. Every Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Steve, you got anything going on?
No, I mean, turkey season's over. So really I've been focusing on fishing right now. As far as gun related, I mean, I'm still shooting my rifle occasionally. And of course, twice a month, going out and shooting my pistol. As far as pistol shooting, I've been trying to practice more shooting both eyes open, which I'm really not getting down. The only time I can really focus on the sight is on the front side is when I blink. If any of you guys got any tips about that, let me know. But yeah, that's about it. Still shooting my rifle for deer season, and still practicing with my carry weapon.
Well, we bring up fishing too, and a lot of us are apt to throw stuff in the water, so we should probably start looking more at having a fishing thing. That might get one bad Marine back over here.
Man, I've been tearing up some fish here recently with the Ned rig, doing a little bit of finesse fishing out of the kayak. That's been fun. A little bit of top water in the mornings, but yeah, mainly what I've been catching on here in the Ozarks is Ned rig.
So what is that when?
The little Ned rig is like a little mushroom jig hook with I've been using like probably about a 3.5 inch worm. But the worms I'm using are made out of like supposedly this special elastic stuff that I think really works. So, yeah.
Right on. Smeggy, what's happening? Where you been? What's going on?
Yeah, not a whole lot. Just chilling out. So
You said you were going to be on Hit or Miss.
Yeah, I'm hit or miss. Tuesday nights 9 o'clock. So I don't know, nothing major or whatever. So I still do the cave every once in a while. Obviously, doing the Daily Gun Show and Hit or Miss every once in a while. So I got nothing to plug or whatever. Everyone go support Second Amendment and be awesome.
Right on. So to wrap it up, we'll go left to right real quick. Girk, you just got back. Mint chocolate chip ice cream sandwich or mint chocolate chip drumstick?
Ooh. Ice cream sandwich, definitely.
Cycle. Sandwich, drumstick. All right.
No, I think he's
Go over with the decision. Posh.
Sandwich at home, drumstick in a car.
Oh, okay.
I would go with the drumstick all the time. I do have one question. Have you ever had an It's It?
What is this now? What are we talking about?
It is a ice cream sandwich. It's 2 oatmeal cookies, sandwiching mint chocolate chip ice cream, and the whole thing is dipped in chocolate.
Ooh.
And so it gets a little melty, and the melted ice cream gets into that oatmeal cookie. It's amazing. It's a California thing. I think they're made in California.
Not heard of it. Steve? Sandwich?
Drumstick.
Smeggy?
I'm going to go with sandwich, but I'm also doing that under protest because I don't like the idea that food is getting into this chat. And I'm blaming Midnight, but I don't know if he's the one that started this or not.
This one was Dead Horse.
Oh, Dead Horse? I like Dead Horse. I can talk about food for him. In that case, sandwich, which I can't eat anyways, but that's what I'd like to eat if I could.
What if it was made out of a delicious nut milk? Oh, no, you can't have the nut milk either.
Yeah, so I just die. That's fine.
All right, well, the sandwich has obviously got more ice cream in it is the correct answer.
Yeah, but the sugar cone, though. Sugar cone is superior to the sandwich wafer thing.
Oh, I don't disagree with you, but it's got to go with more ice cream.
Yeah, although I'm liking the it's thing.
Yeah, it's it, man.
It's
it.
It's it. It's the shit is what it should be called because that sounds good.
Yeah, dude. And it's that oatmeal cookie, man. The link's in the chat. It's legit.
No, it's a chocolate.
California always has the cool stuff.
We went pretty long tonight, but now we're going to have another hour of breakfast cereal crack. So get a cup of coffee and get ready. So I guess with that, well, thanks again, everyone, for joining us tonight. We had 30 people watching. If I look over on the Gun Channel side or on the YouTube side, 21 of those people were nice enough to give us a thumbs up, so we appreciate that. And
I got one more thing, G-Webs.
Yeah.
Tell the ATF not to ban bump stocks. We got like a couple days left or whatever for that.
Oh.
I forget the exact deadline, but I think it might be June 1st.
Are you talking about the original query they put out there? And you're saying there was a 90-day one and it's still ending?
Yeah, they're still accepting public comment because it was, yeah.
I'll find it. Then if you would grab a link and we'll throw that on the main page of Gun Channels. We'll throw it on the link in the because that's a good idea. Not to forget that they're accepting comments. We should utilize those channels. All right. Anybody got a quote?
I got a quote.
Take it away.
See, I'm doing the job now, man. I'm setting up a quote ahead of time and everything. So instead of Thomas Jefferson today we're going to do Noah Webster. So Noah Webster published a thing called An Examination of the Leading Principles of the Federal Constitution in 1787. And this is a quote from that document. Before a standing army can rule, the people must be disarmed. as they are in almost every country in Europe. The supreme power in America cannot enforce unjust laws by the sword, because the whole body of the people are armed and constitute a force superior to any band of regular troops. And that's the quote from Noah Webster.
Good.
Thanks for watching GunWebsites. The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.
Making pancakes, making bacon pancakes. Take some bacon and I'll put it in a pancake. Bacon pancakes, that's what it's gonna make. Bacon pancakes. Bacon pancakes, making bacon pancakes. Take some bacon and I'll put it in a pancake. Bacon pancakes, that's what it's gonna make. Bacon pancakes.